Dr. Megan Woods.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In closing this general debate, I too would like to acknowledge the local members of parliament and the work that they have been doing in that area. Stuart Smith, who's spoken in this debate today, and of course my colleague Rino Tarakartni. Rino and I both entered parliament in 2011, representing in an area, that's right Dr Clark, a wonderful year, in an area that was suffering from earthquakes. So for both he and I, our whole parliamentary career has been dealing with earthquakes. So I would put money on the fact that Rino will continue to work closely with the local member there, Stuart Smith, and I acknowledge the kind words that Stuart did offer about Rino. Mr Speaker, over the last few days and the coming days, I'm sure, we've heard a lot about the Kiwi spirit, about rolling up our sleeves, about stoicism and about resilience. These are all important attributes that communities need to dig deep to find in these days. But Mr Speaker, I would also like to make the point that it's okay for people not to be feeling this. These are very difficult days. These are difficult things for people in these affected and impacted communities to cope with. And it is okay to say that you're not feeling all right and that you do need help. And I echo the words of my colleague who said that. Mr Speaker, we have seen remarkable things, as we did throughout Canterbury after our earthquakes, of organisations, people and individuals stepping up, the sense of community and the coming together. We've seen the remarkable work that's been happening at Takahanga Marae, and where my colleague Rino Tarakartni is heading, where 500 to 600 people are being fed, where people are being housed and where people, importantly, are being offered the opportunity to be together, to a place to go and to feel safe. And Mr Speaker, that is one of the things that we always have to ensure is there. And Mr Speaker, there are many things that we can look that happened in Canterbury that went well, and it is very heartening for me to see many of the communities of Christchurch and Canterbury now wanting to give back, to support those further north that now suffer the same terrible fate that they did 6 years ago. And it's not the time for politicking or bickering, Mr Speaker. We have a huge job to do, and there will be problems that need to be solved. And Labor will support the government in doing things to get things moving. But in saying this, Mr Speaker, it is also important that we learn the lessons that we have been through in the last 6 years. We have learned an awful lot in this country over the last 6 years about how it is that we need to deal with both disaster and recovery and how we put those things together. And it would be a mistake if we didn't learn those lessons. What I do not want to see, Mr Speaker, is a situation where the people of Kaikoura in 2022 are still waiting to get their lives back on track. And if we simply copy what we have done in Canterbury, that well could be the outcome. We need to ensure that we have good mental health services from the beginning, that we don't fund on a business as usual model, and that we ensure that the local organisations and professionals who are in the area are well placed to help the people in their community. We need to ensure that the claims process for people getting their homes fixed learns the lessons of what we've been through. We need to ensure that we don't have a huge spike in housing costs by getting in there early, by providing the temporary accommodation. We need to ensure that we don't end up re-repairing people's homes by getting the scoping process right the first time, Mr Speaker, that we send in trained professionals who can see what is wrong with particular buildings. We need to ensure that support is there, legal support for people to deal with their claims process. Where we got to in Canterbury, and I'm sure many Cantabrians can attest to what a great organisation the Residential Advisory Service has been in helping them get through their ordeal. Mr Speaker, there is so much that we can do together. There is so much that we can and will achieve as this part of the South Island and Wellington needs to put the pieces back together and rebuild lives. We are a great country. We have great character. Let's learn the lessons of what we've been through and move forward together, Mr Speaker.